I started to think, and this is serious now, I started to think, have you been arrested again? When you don't turn up for a podcast, my thought is you've been arrested by the Gestapo police again. What sort of country are we living in? There's police outside the house. I think they're coming to my house. They've been there for a couple of minutes. They've gathered. They're giving each other instructions.
Because GB Energy doesn't make anything, it doesn't generate anything, it doesn't do anything. And if you truly cared about the planet, you say, right, let's stop buying shit from China.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's returning guest is Foxy from the Silver Fox Hot Takes. How are you doing, Foxy?
I am very, very well, thank you. As you can probably see from my background, enjoying the sun, which for viewers who won't know this, we were meant to do this video a little bit earlier, but I was busy out there enjoying the sun and suddenly went, oh, fuck, I forgot about Nick. So I had to rush in and sort of get on, hello. But it's nice to have a bit. I know spring is definitely in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you've mentioned that you were late for the podcast, because after about 4 minutes waiting, I text you thinking, well, we all can be late for these. We live, we're working from our houses. You end up washing the pots or going in the garden. Someone talks to you. That's not a problem. But as the time ticked on, and once we got to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I started to think, and this is serious now, I started to think, have you been arrested again? Because they came for you last time on a Friday evening, kept you overnight. You didn't get back till Saturday morning. And even though it sounds quite funny, it's quite sinister that we now live in a country where when someone like you, who's into free speech and has your own podcast, when you don't turn up for a podcast, my thought is you've been arrested by the Gestapo police again. What sort of country are we living in?
I know the very fact that, firstly, the very fact that you would even have to think that, but secondly, that it's your go-to thought. We are, I think, living, as you say, Gestapo, it's a police state. Paper's bitter, it's there. They've probably got files and they'll be monitoring everybody. We know that they want to, but yeah, the fact that, oh God, he's a bit late, he must have been arrested. Are you kidding me? So, but don't worry, Keir Starmer says we've got free speech. Yeah, my arse.
Yeah. Well, what he technically said was he's proud of the history of free speech we have in this country.
Oh, it's definitely in the past then, yeah.
It is a history. For people who don't know, you did get arrested about 3 weeks ago. They came for you on a Friday night, arrested you on a Friday night, took you to police station, kept you overnight, interviewed you at 1, 2 in the morning. What's the latest on that?
Well, in terms of charging, still nothing. The CPS still haven't made their mind up. I'm still on bail until the 1st of May. My solicitor says that she will contact the police just before that, because if the police are just going to re-bail me, then I don't need to turn up. They'll deal with the paperwork for me. If they're going to either have official dropping of the charges or they're going to charge me, I've got to turn up. But that's all up in the air at the moment. However, looking at the I can't think of what the term is, but there is, it's like the background to the charging. There's you have all these details that they use. Now, funnily enough, there's been a story like in the paper the other day, and all over the media, really, everybody's talking about it, 2-tier justice, where if you're white, you're going to face more likelihood of prison because of the sentencing report, pre-sentencing reports. Sorry, I was struggling there with the wording, but it just suddenly came to me. It's these pre-sentencing reports. But my brief has looked through this, and she says that I've got seven areas in which I can claim pre-sentencing reports. So she says that, these will work in my favour because of things that have happened, things that have done, things that I am kind of thing. So I've got these 7 areas of pre-sentencing reports, which they're going to immediately do. She's advising me to keep saying innocent, not guilty all the way, so that the moment, if I'm found guilty in a magistrate's court, I put the appeal straight in. This gets up to Crown Court, and then you go from there. And then we're looking at sentencing guidelines for what my crime is. Now, called it my real, when I say I use the word crime, I mean what I'm being accused of, not what I've actually done. There is the difference. But the worst of it is I could do 3 years. However, that is at what the, can you hear that noise?
No.
Oh, there's a noise in the background. Oh, I know what it is. It's a tumble dryer. Right. Yeah, could do 3 years, but they're looking. That's the most extreme. But because of the mitigation and everything there, it could be as little as 3 months jail is realistic. But that still means doing 6 weeks in jail. And that's extreme. So the advice is we're likely to, with all the pre-sentencing reports and things, to get that negated. So even if I exhaust the entire process and I'm still found guilty, chances are I'll do a Mike Amesbury, 3 days in and then out. So
yeah, I don't think it'll get that far. I'd be very surprised if they charge you. I'll be very surprised. From what I've seen, there is no evidence. If you'd have been arrested for having these conversations during the Southport riots, you already would have been in court. You already would have been in jail.
Oh yeah, I mean the cop at the interview said if I'd been through the riots, they would have remanded me like that.
Yeah, and that's because they wanted political prisoners at that point. At this point, they don't want any more political prisoners if they can help it. And I don't think it'll meet the threshold for the CPS to carry on with that. But what do I know? I mean, I actually thought this morning you may have been arrested again. And that's the police state we're living in, because a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, a friend of mine who I do a podcast with, the mayor and I, he texted me on.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
he texted me on a Friday night about 11 o'clock at night, going, Nick, there's police outside the house. I think they're coming to my house. They've been there for a couple of minutes. They've gathered. They're giving each other instructions. I think they're coming to my house.
He's obviously scared.
He was genuinely worried. He was letting me know, because in case they were coming for me at the same time, because we have very serious conversations on our podcast. And it turns out they went next door. There was a domestic or something going on next door to him.
Right. But that was his go-to thought.
What country are we living in where when you see the police outside your house, you think they're coming for you and you're not even a criminal? And what you're doing is basically having free conversations online, and you think the police are coming to your door, not because you're paranoid, but because that's exactly what they're doing to other people. That's exactly what they did to you.
Nick, it's not paranoid when they are coming after you.
Absolutely. I can't believe we're having this conversation. I can't believe we're having this conversation. We keep falling lower and lower and lower. And then, like I said the other day, government is looking at new guidelines for pre-sentencing reports and things like that. Labour are backtracking on this a little bit, but the organisation who look at pre-sentencing reports and legislation and the rules, again, I think it was set up by the Tories, or everybody on the commission was appointed by the Tory government. This isn't just a Labour problem. The Tories are.
Oh no, this is long term. This has been a long thing going. Yeah,
exactly. But these new guidelines,
Sentencing Council. It's called the Sentencing Council. Yeah.
But the guidelines they're hoping to push through are things like you get special treatment if you're a woman, if you're an ethnic minority, if you're black, if you're Asian, if you're from a minority religion, if you're disabled, if you're this, if you're that, if you're left-handed, if you speak with a stutter, if you can't read, if you've got a limp. And it's basically the only people who are not in that group are healthy, white men, Christians.
Of a Christian background, yeah.
They're the only men who will not get preferential treatment.
I understand, and I can see special dispensation for certain groups, absolutely.
Such as?
Like the young. Okay, fine. First offence young. Let's do the report. And they're talking about pregnant and recently given birth women. Again, okay. It might be a bit sexist, but okay, we can understand that. We're human beings. We understand that. And for those with any kind of physical or mental incapacity, again, as a community, as a nation, we can accept that. But when they're giving exceptions because of the color of your skin or the particular religion you follow, that's not acceptable at all. You know?
Yeah. Well, I would disagree with that. I don't want any exceptions. I want one law for everybody in this country. We already make exceptions for people under the age of 18, and probably rightly so. But after that, it is then just a slippery slope. Um, if we start looking at, disabilities, we start looking at mental disabilities, we all can claim something like that. It's just that slippery slope to where we are today.
Yes, I have a mental disability. I like to tell the truth. I'm obviously mad.
well, that could be classed as a mental disability because that you can end up in jail by telling the truth. Therefore, you must be mentally ill for saying the things you say because you can end up in jail. 3 years in jail, you just stated, it is what you could be looking at. You must be mentally ill because the state is going to punish you, and yet you still think free speech is important. You could claim that's a mental illness.
Yeah.
Crazy. So that's the free speech side of it in the sentencing guidelines of it. But I saw a video of yours, I think it was yesterday. One of my favourite Labour politicians, Ed Miliband.
Mad red Ed.
Yeah, the bacon sandwich gobbler. And he told us he was going to create something called GB Energy. It was going to reduce all our bills. The net zero stuff's going to create 14 million highly paid jobs in the country. And if that works, energy is going to be completely free. I'm exaggerating, but this was the crap he was coming out with for the last few years.
You are no further from the truth than he is.
Yeah. I'm just spouting a different type of crap to the crap he was spouting. What's going on with GB Energy and Ed Miliband?
Well, it was all fanfares, trumpets, and look at me, I'm a genius when this was announced sort of through the election campaign. And then they get into power, and then of course it like every other Labour policy, it's just not going to happen. They try and find a head of this thing, and they have to go to Germany in the end and employ a German. He won't live in Scotland. They say, well, we're going to base it in Aberdeen, where the oil industry is now, because it's going to replace the oil industry. So they base it in Scotland, but this German who runs it won't live in Scotland. So they're renting an office in Manchester, near where you are. So they're renting this office space in Manchester to where this German works from. And they've told him to employ staff. So he's got a staff of about a dozen people there, paying him something like £350,000 a year. And he's got no work because GB Energy doesn't make anything, doesn't generate anything, it doesn't do anything. It's a shell. He's getting paid £350,000 a year. He's got his staff all on very good wages, and everybody's sitting around playing Sudoku and watching YouTube all day. Hopefully they're watching this, But that's basically it. And yet he's got all that, and he goes, "Oh, we're going to create this." Now I think his figure was something like 650,000 green jobs. They've subsequently had to reduce that because they know that there just isn't the capacity for that. He said that GB Energy itself would create 1,000 jobs within GB Energy. He's now admitted that actually it might take 20 to 25 years to even get close to 1,000 jobs. Crazy. And then just yesterday, I think it was yesterday or there are we Saturday, thinking about maybe Thursday when it was announced, that Rachel Reeves, who was originally going to put, I think, £8.3 billion of our money into this company that does nothing, has decided that, well, we haven't got 8.3 billion, and is basically fobbing him off with a couple of 100 million. And Miliband's furious because it's his dream, isn't it? It was his only reason to live. But apparently he's now no longer flavour of the month in number 10. All rumours are that there's got this reshuffle soon, and he is out the door. And his mad ideology, because his ideology is going against things like a third runway at Heathrow, the second runway at Gatwick, expansion of this, building of that. And he basically wants to put this green filter on everything that the party's doing. But they all see that this is costing them so much more in terms of not just money, but the optics, votes, the backbenchers are furious with him. So I think his time in cabinet is limited and coming to an end very quickly, not before time.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to jump before he's pushed? Because he's he's put his whole reputation on this green eco lunacy. He's been banging on about it for years. He's the face of it in UK Parliament. I don't know how he accepts it. I don't know how he can accept being promised the world, now being given peanuts, it not happening. I can't see how him as a politician stays. Is he going to resign?
He might do, simply to try and save face. He's certainly, I think he's certainly out now. As I say, whether he does it to save face and goes, or he tries to fight and stay, who knows? Who knows with Miliband? I don't understand how his mind works. But he has made himself some nice little nest eggs, hasn't he? Giving £1 million to his brother's company here, forcing money into renewable companies there. So presumably, if he does leave, and he can leave Parliament altogether, leave politics altogether, get a nice little dictatorship, directorship, or not far off though, a nice little directorship in one of the companies that he's been pumping public money into. They'll say, "Thank you, come along, 100,000 a year, turn up 4 days a year, something like that." That's how these things works, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll have a little bit more respect for him if he does resign. I disagree with him on everything, but I'll have a little bit more respect if he resigns, because at least then I would know he actually believes in it and he's not in it just for political convenience. Now, you just mentioned something. You mentioned the runways at Heathrow and Gatwick there that Miliband's against, obviously. But the Labour government has had to shift positions now because we're almost bankrupt. The economy is collapsing. We can't bother any more money. We might end up at the IMF for a bailout at some point. So the government now is all up. Well, even though they're trying to destroy businesses on one hand, the other hand is saying we need to grow the economy. And the Labour Party now is looking favourably upon a third runway at Heathrow and a second runway at Gatwick. And I believe the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, is extremely unhappy about it and is pushing back on this. What's going on there?
Well, Sadiq Khan has a bee in his bonnet about this. He does not want a third runway at Heathrow, second runway at Gatwick. And I don't know why. I don't know what his position is, because it will create jobs. It will create opportunity. I thinks, it'll bring more traffic, and he's trying to end cars in London because apparently, cars in London are a bad thing, even though, if you want people to come in and make the sort of money and have the economy that London has, people need and will have cars. There's no two ways about it. You start making the whole of London pedestrianised, everyone will just leave, and it's there. The man's an idiot. He's got, he does have a point about pollution. I get it. I do get it. But you can't cure the pollution by banning things that are a long way from the centre of London. Heathrow is 28 miles from the centre of London. Gatwick's 45 miles from the centre of London. It's not as though you're having a 747 landing at City Airport, on the Thames. These things are a long way away. And like I say, it would create a lot more jobs, not just at the airport, of course, but you'd need all the infrastructure to, say, build another railway line. That's a lot of construction jobs. There's more people coming in and travelling, so there's going to be more retail jobs and things like that. It's a wonderful opportunity for growth. But he, like a lot of people in the Labour Party, don't see it because they're not very bright. They don't understand economics. Look, obviously.
Yeah. It's either that, but I'm more inclined to believe that he's bought into the green eco nonsense, and he would like the money, he would like the increase in the tax base in London, he'd like better jobs, he'd like more jobs, he'd like better infrastructure, but not at the price of killing the planet. I think he's bought into the eco green lunacy. It's the only explanation.
Well, to be honest, you could pave over the whole of Britain, and it would not make one jot of difference to the world. Not when you see what China and India between them, over 50% of all of the emissions and things like that. What we do in this country is immaterial. And one extra runway at Heathrow, you couldn't even measure the difference. It's that small.
It
If
is.
you truly cared about the planet, you'd say, right, let's stop buying shit from China.
Yeah. And when you talk about Ed Miliband saying he's going to create 650,000 green jobs, he might be right, but they'll all be in China.
Oh, yeah. Making solar panels.
Exactly. And electric cars and everything else we want. It's all made in China, powered by coal made energy, then shipped on ships using diesel. And we get them here and we go, aren't we wonderful?
Oh, aren't they lovely and green?
Crazy. Foxy, thank you very much for popping on, and let's catch up again soon.
Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, it is great. And hopefully it can stay out of prison. I'm actually, just as a little bit of an aside, let you know, I'm actually off to Cyprus in the next couple of days. I'm opening a company, so I have to go there in person and show passport and things. And the reason is I'm going to shift the ownership of my country, of my channel abroad. And that way that anything in future that goes out won't be published in this country. And, and it just lifts me out of jurisdiction. It's jurisdictional. So
explain that a little bit more.
To do this, it really annoys me,
Yeah, we'll go into detail a little bit, because I understand what you mean, but other people, you may have lost people on that, and it's really, really important what you've just said.
Right. If the ownership of the company, if the ownership of the channel is in a foreign company's name, then anything I say isn't me publishing it. I don't own the channel. I'm merely a contributor. The channel are the publisher. So if it goes out and someone says, oh, I don't like what that guy said on that channel, then they'll go to the channel. But then they'll see that the channel doesn't exist in this country, is therefore out of their jurisdiction, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, a little bit like CNN in America saying something online that breaks British law. There's nothing the British government can do about it, because
it's out of their jurisdiction.
It's a company based in another country. Nothing they can do about it. So you're going to move the ownership of your YouTube channel to Cyprus. So if by some chance you say something that breaks British law, you're not responsible. The YouTube channel is responsible, but
the company that owns the YouTube channel is the publisher, so they are responsible.
Well, how are we got into such a mess that British citizens, English men, have to jump through hoops to keep their free speech?
I know. It is so sad. But
it is.
That's 7 months of Marxism.
And 14 years of semi-Marxism.
Yeah.
But like I said to you last time we discussed that, you won't be lonely in jail, because I'll be on a top bunk. I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks very much. Take care. Great chat. Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye.